You're listening to Shoreditch Radio. shoreditchradio.co.uk.
Greetings and welcome to Bugbear's Rock and Roll High School. And moreover, welcome to England.
Hello, England.
Hello, England. St. George's Day. England calling. England calling. So, as James last fades away into the distance, there, a German?
What?
For goodness sake. Nice bit of green sleeves. England. What does it mean to you, Wig?
It's the smell of leather and willow, isn't
It's all that business. Do you know what it means to me?
it? What does it mean to you, Tony?
Once more unto the breach, dear friends.
Oh, I
Once
see.
more. Or close the wall up with our English dead. In peace, there's nothing so becomes a man as modest stillness and humility. Now set the teeth and stretch the nostril wide. Hold hard the breath and bend up every spirit to its full height. On, you noblest English, his blood is fed from fathers of warproof. Fathers that, like so many Alexanders, Ziggy, have in these parts from morn till even fought, and sheathed their swords for lack of argument. Follow your spirit.
And
upon this charge, cry God for Harry, England, and St. George! Oh, Black Sabbath. One of the greatest Englishmen ever living there. David Bowie, wasn't it? Came in just now to do a bit of Shakespeare. Or was it,
Oh,
was
that
it my
what it was?
imagination? Or was it Phil Cornwall doing David? I don't know what it was. But
I've got no idea what it was.
it's St. George's Day here at the Bugbear's Rock and Roll High School. And it's the school that you know and love, the one that with the ivy up the turrets. And
Oh, yeah.
with boys climbing down to go and do something
for
naughty in the
goodness
orchard. All right. So Ozzy and Co. Black Sabbath. That's a very English thing. So let's say it's St George's Day, and we're going to have a full English breakfast, and that was the sausage there. I'd say, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Okay. So who was the black pudding?
Well, we'll come to that.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, as English
Tomato.
as all right, we'll come to that. As English as Babs Windsor's wiggle, and Kenny Williams's expansively flared nostrils. I'm reading from my notes.
Not very well.
Not very well at all. So yeah, an encapsulation of Blighty. Here we are in our fine edifice here, fashioned from Cotswold stone, ivy rambling up the majestic turrets as the boys play croquet on the lawn and the masters skin up and crack open another bottle of gin. England in a nutshell, hey Wiggins.
Very much so.
That's Mr. Wigg, the football master there, and I'm Mr. Tony, the tumescent head of sixth form humour, celebrating St George's Day, April 23rd, and English music accordingly, which is akin to saying that we'd need a whole bloody term of airtime to do it justice, wouldn't we, really? And although the Americans invented rock and roll, we perfidious Albionites moulded, perverted, and generally had our wicked way with it so successfully that, well, we did well. What do you say, Wig? Let's have some thoughts on St George's Day and Blighty.
Well, to be honest, standing here opposite you, I couldn't feel more English if I was...
I say, what?
Oh, I think I couldn't feel more English if I was sitting having a cream tea with Arthur English.
Oh, Mr. Mash in, wasn't he Mr. Mash in Upstairs, Downstairs? Not Upstairs, Downstairs.
He was in Are You Being Served?
Are You Being Served?
He always wore the brown coat, didn't he? But, I feel I feel slightly underdressed. I should be wearing like a bowler hat or maybe a full-on knight's uniform. What do you call it? Oh, armour, that's it.
Armour, yeah. Well, every week, because you being the football master, you generally take the piss out of me for sort of being very fickle in my football fancy.
Yes.
Like I'm a Chelsea fan, but then again, do I actually support Swindon, the Robins? I don't know.
I thought it was Salisbury, actually.
Swansea
I presume
last
you are
week.
a Chelsea fan now after they beat
But you
Barcelona.
know who I really... today I'm a fan again. But you know who I really support, don't you?
I don't know, Tony.
England. And that's a good point now, from that horrible bit of yobbishness there, to embrace the holy trinity, the timeless triumvirate of English pop music. Do you know what that is?
Well, Madness, I guess, is one.
Let me go back to the full English thing again. This is the bacon, the egg, and the black pudding
Right.
of English music. This is the Kinks, the Fall, and Madness.
What's Madness?
It's his big brother who left home. For jobs in Holland, Munich, Rome. He's thick, but he's struck it rich. Switch the commune crap. Can't bob a middle class flip flop. I guess that's why they end up in bands. He's a creep creep. And us all, he's a creep creep. And us all condescends to black men. Are very nice to them. They talk of chili while driving through Haslingdon. You got 60-hour weeks in stone toilet back gardens. Peter Cook's jokes, bad dope, check shirts, fancy groups, a pint of fingers at America. Down pokey quaint streets in Cambridge. Take all our distant spastic heritage. It's a gay red, round head, army career, red head. We were smart, we'd emigrate.
stand to attention life of land, of hope and glory. Again, so bored that time goes by, I think I'll do something dirty. I pick at the floor for juicy butts, and I make myself a smoke, a bowl to roll an envelope sticky. All this helps to pass my time. As the evening drags on, you can watch a little telly or gossip and people with a little bit of belly. Hot and serve cold with a hint of yesterday's. Don't complain, learn the game and I'll get through another day. I would sit there on the clock at long past this 9:30. Off the bed, straight to sleep as I leave this land of hope and glory. But only for a few seconds am I in ecstasy before the bell rings to let me know. Stop at 6:30, at 4, at 2, at 6, at 2,
Come on, you
Come on, you lot.
eggs.
Come on.
Whoa, geezer. Move it, move it, move it. Ah. Yeah. Of course, the Dublin Castle, where, you know, we do a lot of our hops for the high school, that's the ancestral seat of madness, you know. The shadow looms large there.
I do know that. I used to get my hair cut by the same barber as them, just up the road.
Did you? Did you go into Holt's shoe shop as well?
Yes,
of course
I did all
you did.
that.
Of course
Yeah.
you did. You were a Camdenite. Did you do the walk?
Not everywhere, no.
Not on your own, that'd be weird. Okay. All right, so there's still lots of good ska music
I do
out
walk
there,
a bit
actually.
funny though. Apparently, I walk on my toes.
Do you?
Yeah, it's
Everyone
good point.
says I walk funny as well. Like,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
walk like I like pretend like I think I'm hard. People
Oh.
at school always used to say, "You think you're hard, don't you, Gleed? You think you're hard because the way you walk. You think you're hard." I'm like, no, I don't.
Well, they used to say exactly the opposite.
Sometimes
to
I
me.
was hard, actually.
Yeah. I don't know where this conversation's going. Come
dear.
on, move on.
Anyway,
We've got a lady
what's
watching
the
us tonight
first
as
rule
well.
of... Have we? Goodness. The first rule of rock and roll is, of course, that London trumps New York and LA every time.
Yeah.
That's the first rule of rock and roll. I don't think there's any others. I haven't heard of any others. We didn't invent it, but we did give it better trousers. So, England and America are two countries separated by a common language. George Bernard Shaw said that. Well, the US certainly has the lingo, I suppose, but I don't know. The English perfected it. So, also, actually, let me also say this. George Bernard Shaw said, "We don't bother much about dress and manners in England, but because as a nation, we don't dress well and we have no manners." Do you think that's right?
I think that's absolutely right. Looking at you right this
Well,
second.
do you like my Burberry cap and my crimpling safari suit? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, well,
Oh,
I've got used to it
You
over
wanker?
the weeks. Yeah. Yeah. But it's true. I mean, they gave us Hendrix and Lou Reed, New York Dolls.
Yeah, but it took us to give Hendrix the...
Yeah.
they didn't...
But we've had the Beatles, the
Trying to
Stones,
say it.
the Who, the Clash, the Stranglers, the Smiths, and lots of other bands.
Yeah,
Begans
bands that we haven't got time to play tonight,
and the,
unfortunately.
of course.
Who?
Lots of big hands. Big hands, I can't say bands, beginning with the.
Including the.
Including
So we had The Fall earlier, and the Awkward Squad is very much an English musical phenomenon, I think. So let's have two new Newbly Dooblies that you can see soon in the Dublin Castle, where we ply our trade often. And the art school emanations that sort of encapsulates England fair in musical form since the 60s, if not the 50s, I suppose. The tomato and beans, if you will, of our English, full English.
Yeah.
So it's
You didn't know we were going to go right down this English breakfast road, did you?
No.
Until I slipped the black pudding in.
I'm sorry about
so to
this.
speak.
Yeah, I will be belching in a bit.
Yes.
But after these messages, we're going to come in with some two new bands, two really great new bands you can see in the Dublin Castle soon. But please listen to these messages from Shoreditch Radio now.
Hiya, my name's Robert McGarby. When I'm not persecuting my own people, I go online and I download my favourite shows on Shoreditch Radio.
I've been doing just a thing to tell me I should get up more. Tell me I'm missing all the fun. Well, I'd recommend you take a peek over your shoulder, man. I find it's better if you run. Run for the ones you get lost, run for the time you're wasting, run for the brief success you tasted every now and then when you weren't really trying. Sometimes it's better to ignore just what you're running for. Just get your head down, son, and run. Run for the early train that gets you there before the rush. At least then the entrance fee won't sting so much. And when they ask you what you ever did to qualify, you can but say you never made the grade as such. Chopstick of bean, I'll give you half the time you need. You know exactly what I mean. Chopstick of bean, Run for the Asian restaurant, run for the waitress there. Run for the way she tossed her hair when she got you staring up over your wife's shoulder. Run to the back of the fat chick body, all in your blazer. Run for the way the girl choose the end of a ballpoint pen and she gives it a quick once over. Run to your socks and rags, run to your one big blister. Running as if there's hard money down for the winner, but there ain't shit for second place. Sometimes it's better to ignore just what you're running for. Just get your head down, son, and run.
get you there before the rush. At least then the entrance fee won't sting so much. And when they ask you what you ever did to qualify, you can but say you never made the grade as such. Chopstick of bean, chopstick of bean, I'll give you half a tiny. You know exactly what I mean. Chopstick of bean, chopstick of bean. Chopstick of bean, chopstick of bean, I'll give you half a tiny. You know exactly what I mean. Chopstick of bean, chopstick of bean.
Yeah, fantastic. There you go. So there is still some interesting music out there, folks.
Bloody hell, that's completely nuts. I mean, I love it,
Nuts
but it's
is a word
crazy.
that you could use. Yeah.
At one
First of
point-
all, sorry.
Go, carry on.
First of all, you heard Chopstick a Bean by Hothead Show, who you can see on the 4th of May in the Dublin Castle. They're on a bill with Barefoot, Beware, Moody Gowns, Tierra Outlaws and Muffs. 4th of May, Dublin Castle. Come on down. Yeah, baby. And then Snack Family with that kind of weird blarting sax stuff, which was actually reminiscent of, reminded me of an old band called The Cravats from way back when.
Yeah.
Bit of Beefheart in there, maybe Tom Waits, etc., etc. You can see them also Saturday the 28th of April, Dublin Castle, alongside Pussycat and the Dirty Johnsons, of whom more soon. So that's the tomato and beans, I think.
Yeah, that's the one I was talking about, was the chopstick of bean or whatever it's called.
That's great, isn't it?
It's not, I mean, singing so fast at one point, he made Jello Biafra sound like Leonard Cohen. I couldn't keep up with him. But you sort of imagine it like a squat party, but some wild-eyed bloke coming up to tell you to live in the trees, which actually happened to be.
I am that wild-eyed bloke, and I am telling you to indeed.
Yeah.
I don't live in the trees. Okay, so that's 2 great tracks, and I think you'll agree they were lovely, lovely, lovely. So
just before you, Phil Black, was that called Wanna Be
no, Phil Black, we haven't got there yet.
Have we?
Hold your horses on that one.
I was going to say.
I mean, the dear old
I was
sports
listening out
teacher.
for
He's
Phil
been
Black.
out with the boys. They've been flicking him with soggy towels. God knows what they've done to him. I think they've been
I was listening out
doing
for Phil
unspeakable
Black,
things
and
to him in the
that's-
showers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he
later.
hasn't
Don't
come
worry about that. So, yeah. Any thoughts on good calves? Because we're having this full English now, and like it occurs to me that there's very few good calves left in...
The Royal Calf in Camden, that's the one.
Well, I was about to say Arthur's calf on Kingston Road is fantastic.
Right, yep.
But you have to eat what they've got on the board. If you can't have sausage, egg, chips and beans if it says sausage, egg, chips and tomatoes.
Really?
Oh, no. And
What,
no,
so
no.
they only have one choice per day?
They have about
What if
3
you're
or 4.
vegetarian? Oh, okay.
No one's a vegetarian on Arthur's Calf. The
What
Crays used to eat there. And then there's Amherst Calf on Amherst Road. That's a proper old
Right,
school
yeah.
calf. Well, you know when you get a cup of tea that's been made in an urn and you can almost stand a spoon up in it, and
Well,
it's
I've got
not a freaking tea bag chucked in a cup with a bit of milk. That's
I've got
just
a bit of a
disgusting.
St George's Day confession on
Have you?
all things English. I can't stand tea. I hate. I know. Strike me down.
And I'm a colleague of yours at this very English establishment
Yes,
that
yeah,
we find
indeed.
ourselves in. Yes. Okay. So, Twitter, Facebook, all those things. Get on to us on them, please. Yeah, we're at Bugbear Music. Where are you, Chris?
Where am I?
On Twitter.
I'm
Twitter.
I'm somewhere else.
Keep up.
Chris _Charles.
The double_, man, baby. Yeah, okay. Michael from Camden Town's tweeted us again. He says, thanks for playing Super Furry Animals last week. He loves SFA and anything Griff Reese does, except that thing about renovating old buildings. What was all that about? I don't know.
Yeah.
I think you're a bit confused there, Mike, as
Renovating
usual.
old buildings.
Yeah, I think he's thinking of... Anyway, never mind.
What is he thinking of? You don't know either, do you?
Griff Reese... yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, I see.
what
Right.
did Voltaire say of England? Do you know?
No.
He said, England has 42 religions and only 2 sources. Or he said, yeah, England has 42 religions and only 2 sources.
I think I prefer the first version, actually.
HP and Daddies.
Oh, dear.
Yeah.
Come on.
I often feel conflicted, though, don't you? Because we're the English, we're a mongrel race. We embrace everybody. I mean, I've got Welsh, Norwegian, my kids are half Japanese, you know. But what is it to be English, do you think, on this St. George's Day special?
To be English, I think sense of humour is paramount, really. And self-deprecation, that's a classic English trait.
Well, my kids already know a lot of swear words with which to abuse me with, and I think that's a very English trait as well. The multifarious swearing. But also, when I look in the mirror, I say to myself, English, folk off. English, folk off.
Very
Because
much
we're not having a punk off like we usually do. We're having a bit of a folk off. It's more like a psych folk off, to be fair.
Yeah.
And what have you chosen?
I have chosen Golf Girl by Caravan off the very excellent In the Land of the Grand Pink, which apparently has just gone platinum 40-something years after
And
after
I'm a
it was
latecomer
released.
to this, I don't mind admitting, and it is fantastic. But to be a bit contrary, I've put on the demo version Group Girl rather than Golf Girl. Ha ha.
Oh, I
See what I've done?
Yes.
And it's going to be followed by Pentangle and the beautiful Light Flight. So let's hear these two now. England Expects, etc., etc. Let's hear some nice psych folk of an English hue.
Was on a golden golf course, dressed in PVC. Chance to meet a golf girl, selling cups of tea. She asked me, did I want one? Asked me with a grin. Tuppence, you can have one, full right to the brim. So of course I had to buy one. In fact I ordered 3, so I could watch the golf girl, 'cause See, she fancied me. Then later on the golf course, after drinking tea, it started raining golf balls, and she protected me. Her name was Pat, and we sat under a tree. She kissed me 3 kisses, and this is what bliss is. She became my missus. We had a son named Jason, and he's only 1. We go for walks in fine weather, all together on the golf course. I chanced upon a golf girl selling cups of tea. She asked me, did I want one? Asked me with a grin, for 2pence you can have one, full right to the brim. So of course I had to have one. In fact I ordered 3, so I could watch the golf girl. See, she fancied me. Later on the golf course, after drinking tea, it started raining golf balls, and she protected me. Her name was Pat, and we sat under a tree. She kissed me.
Let's get away, you say, find a better place, miles and miles away from the city's race. Look around for someone lying in the sunshine, marking time. Hear the sighs, close your eyes. Ba-da-ba-doo-da-da-da-ba-doo-da-da. Stepping from cloud to cloud, passing years of light. Visit the frosty start in the back
Ah. Beautiful. Well, what lovely music. Am I talking over this? I think I am.
Yeah, stop talking over the music, Tone. You've ruined a perfectly good song there.
Lovely. Pentangle? Hopefully not. Pentangle and Light Flight. Before that, Caravan and Golf Girl. And, two beautiful psych folk tracks from the English folk scene, imbued with jazz and sort of, grooviness from the late 60s into the 70s that we know and love, which is a bedrock of a lot of our stuff that we enjoy here at Bugbear's Rock and Roll High School. Because, if it was all Jerry Lee Lewis, we'd get a bit bored, frankly, although we do love Jerry Lee.
So obviously you've chosen a few of these songs, I've chosen a few. What's your quintessential English song then?
My quintessential English... You're putting me on the spot now.
I am putting you very much on the spot.
Well, I'd probably choose something by David Bowie, who's probably
Really?
not... we might have time to play David Bowie, I'm hoping, but we might not. But I would probably go for something like Moon Age Daydream, just for its like sheer bizarreness but like exotic pop grooviness.
Okay.
But I haven't included it. So
Okay.
silly me. But what's yours then, mate? Is it the Angelic Upstarts?
Well,
they were all right, by the way.
They did do a song called "This Is England," actually.
Yeah, that's
but
not one of their best.
Not really, no. I was sort of toying. I think the move "Blackberry Way" makes me feel sort of.
Oh, that's a
like,
good one.
Like sort of skippily English.
Yeah, we should. I'll tell you another one. Lazy Sunday,
Lazy
Small Faces,
Sunday,
which isn't
yeah.
included either.
Yeah.
Or we've already had the Kinks, but
Village Green.
We could have had Village Green.
But I'm going to go for "Splodginess Abounds," 2 pints of lager and a packet of crisps, please.
Okay then. All right. Well, we'll just sort of let that one just sort of flitter away there, and the listener can all go.
Yeah, tongue was slightly in cheek.
No, you're right though. It's a good tune. I mean, entertainment, and that's another English thing. The End of the Pier, English thing. Bad Manners.
Yeah.
For instance, there's nothing wrong with all that. Madness. I mean,
yeah.
yeah. I call it. Do you know what I call it?
What do you call it? Gladness?
Gladness.
Yeah. Stole your thunder there.
Right.
Go on.
There we go. Let's have some more music. Let's move it along quickly in a sort of St. George's style. St. George, though, you do know, of course, that he's also the patron saint of the Turks.
Yeah.
And several other countries, I don't remember which
It's
ones.
a lot of dragons he's had to slay to get
How
all
many
those
dragons?
accolades.
Well, have you walked down the average high street in England? Sorry.
I live near Wood Green High Street.
There goes half the listenership right there. So let's have some more newbies. Well, we're going to have a little sandwich here. We like a sandwich, and we're going to start off with a new act called Phil Black. And
Hey! I knew he'd come
yeah.
along eventually. I have listened to this before, and so that's cheated a bit. But anyway, carry on.
Sorry about that. Well, Phil Black, and then we're going to have Pussycat and the Dirty Johnsons, and in the middle of that is going to be Johnny Remember Me by John Layton. So this is this
nice.
lovely, lovely sandwich of lovely, lovely loveliness. Thank you.
When the mists are rising and the rain is falling and the wind is blowing cold across the moor, I hear the voice of my darling, the girl I love and lost a year ago. Well, it's hard to believe, I know, but I hear her singing in the sign of the wind, blowing in the treetops, way above me. Yes, I'll always remember till the day I die. I'll hear her cry, Johnny, remember me. Well, someday I guess I'll find myself another little girl to take the place of my true love. But as long as I live, I know I'll hear her singing in the side of the wind, blowing in the treetops, way above me. Yes, I'll always remember till the day I die. I'll hear her cry, oh, Johnny, remember me.
Across my
Yeah. Good to hear that again. That's the only track we've repeated so far, actually, but they are fantastic. Pussycat and the Dirty Johnsons, Trouble with the Devil, with the Killer Dilla riff that I love so much.
Yeah.
28th of April, I've told you already, I'll tell you again, Dublin Castle, come and see them at the Bugbear Rock and Roll High School Hop. Come along. And in between there, well, first of all, you had Wanna Be Meek by Phil Black.
Yeah, is that as in Joe Meek?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
You're not going to channel his ghost again, are you?
I've channeled his ghost one too many times, are you, Phil? Then again, he will suddenly find his way. No.
It sounded a bit like, I don't know, Mike Skinner singing inside a mine shaft in
a punky style, yeah. I love it. I thought it was great. And he's playing also, funnily enough. Wouldn't you? What a surprise. Dublin Castle, 30th of April, right. Camden Town, Parkway,
I've
94.
got to come down to see some of these bands.
Have you never been there?
I've been there quite a lot, Tony, because I used to work on the door there, as you well know.
Oh, yeah, so you did. Fantastic place. You should come on down. And he's there on the 30th with Evil Stairs, E-Mute, Harry Perry is the other guy on the bill, and Phil Black. So, and in the middle, what was that track in the middle? Do you know what that was in the middle there? Something very English.
I do, yeah. Johnny Remember Me, which was... well, I first got to it via the Meteors, who covered it.
They did, didn't they?
Many years ago.
Yeah,
with,
quite well as well.
It was very good, yeah. And, yeah, as I may have mentioned, my... dear friend was the drummer for them for a few years. I've got a few Meteors stories I could bore you with at a later date, but now maybe not the time. But yeah, great song.
Is that the guy when you were at some club and you turned around and said, "Where's so and so?" and that was him?
Yeah, his name's Mark Howe, so his name's Howie, and we were at a club one night, and I just tapped this bloke on the shoulder and said, "Sorry, mate, you haven't seen Howie, have you?" He said, "I am Howie."
Yeah.
Which was,
and can we have the Pete Shelley story again as well?
No. Another time.
Bloody repeats.
Yeah.
All right. Do you know what time it is now? We've heard the new breed of English bands there. It was great to hear. I mean, Joe Meek, I'm not channeling him again, don't worry. I won't be doing that again in a hurry, frankly. But it's that time to catch up with Mr. Jim, the errant absentee art master. And what's he been up to? He's been acting very strangely, I have to say, this week. Very strangely. I spotted him in the Withy Beds with one of the girls from the upper sixth. Teaching her to row, I think. Certainly seemed to be a lot of strenuous strokes and vigorous coxing at play.
Right, I see, yes.
But I couldn't help but notice he gave her a gift comprising the hands of a clock. Weird. Then the next day, I spied him with another of the girls down by the school orchard. So, needless to say, the plums were getting some attention that day. But that's not the point. There he was, giving that young lady a gift of a clock face.
Right.
Odd. Very odd, I thought. Then later that evening, outside the prefectory, he was presenting another of the his very best, I must say, female students, with the hollow body of a clock. Most peculiar. But I caught up with him later, and apparently he's going to give them all the works tomorrow. So it all becomes clear. Yeah. Good old Jim. And here's Sir George of Harrison, because St. George, you've got to have Sir George of Harrison.
Of course you have.
The Beatles, and here's a fantastic Beatles song.
One of my
favourite
Beatles songs.
What is it, Wig? You introduced it, because you actually selected this, didn't you?
It's called Love You Too, off the fantastic Revolver album.
A much unrated track, and it's great. play that funky sitar, George.
There's
That's your. Would that be your super surefire penalty spot conversion for this particular Bugbear's Rock and Roll High School?
Do you know what? I think it would be, yeah. Did you know the working title for that song, by the way?
I don't.
Granny Smith.
What's that then?
Apparently Harrison was rubbish with coming up with titles, and so they just had working titles all the time. And I don't know whether in the end they all sort of decided on it.
Well, Let It Be, or was it one of them? Yesterday was Scrambled Eggs, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Scrambled Eggs.
Yeah. And Paul McCartney was originally singing backing vocals on that, but he got the boot, basically.
Why? Not good enough.
Oh, sorry, I'm not standing close enough, so I'm not loud enough. And now I'm probably too loud. Anyway, so you heard sitars, tablas and tamburas, I think, on there.
Yeah, you certainly did. And it sort of invented that kind of Asian psychedelic crossover thing that happened around about that time.
Very
Now
much
the guys
so.
seem to be morphing into Jimmy Savile and over there. Sure, what did? We were going to have Baby Shambles next with Albion, but we decided to kick them into touch. And we're going for an old David Bowie track. Because who's more of an English artiste than David Bowie? And we just spoke about him earlier. So we're going to go for a really old track.
Bowie or Bowie?
I say Bowie, but you say Bowie because of Zowie.
He's got a song called Zowie, so
Zowie
why would he
Bowie.
call him Zowie Bowie? Anyway, let's
Because it'd be Zoe Bowie would be a girl, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
That's it. If he'd had a girl, he would be Bowie.
Right, with you, yeah.
He had a boy, so he was Bowie. Because let's face it, his name was Jones. And anyway, now that Davy Jones is dead, does that mean Davy Bowie is now Davy Jones again?
Oh, for goodness sake. It's all too much to comprehend. And you wouldn't let me play a Monkeys tribute to Davy Jones, so I haven't forgiven you for that.
Oh, dear. Sorry about that. We're going to leave here in blows. Thanks for enjoying. I hope you enjoyed it. Anyway, our St. George's Day special
Massacre.
here at shoreditchradio.co.uk. Keep listening. Fantastic station. This is Bugbear's Rock and Roll High School signing off. Let's hear Join the Gang by David Bowie.
Let me introduce you to the gang. Johnny plays the sitar, he's an existentialist. Once he had a name, now he plays our game. You won't feel so good now that you've joined the gang. Molly is the model in the ads. Crazy clothes and acid, full of soul and crazy hip. Someone switched her on, then her beam went wrong. 'Cause she can't switch off now that she's joined the gang. Arthur is a singer with a band. Arthur drinks 2 bottles just before he goes on stage. Look at Arthur rave, all the kids have paid. They want to see the croaking man who joined the gang. You won't be alone, we've all got beery grins. It's a big illusion, but at least you're in. At least you're in. This club's called The Web, it's this month's pick. Next month we shall find a place where prices ain't so stiff. 15 bob a coke, afraid that's past a joke. This is how to spend now that you've joined the gang. This is what to do now that you're here. Sit round doing nothing all together very fast. Psychedelic stars throwing down cigars. They're picking up the joints now that they've joined the gang.